Good afternoon, 4G students, and welcome to the Reading Corner. Today we're going to be using our social studies book to cover TEK 4.10c, which says, I can analyze the author's use of print and graphic features to achieve specific purposes. As usual, our TEK uses very big words, but it's not too difficult. Analyze just means you're going to think about it. So you're going to think about how the author uses print, that's the words, bold words, italic words, underlined words, even highlighted words. And graphic features are just the pictures. They could be pictures, maps, tables, charts, and timelines to achieve specific purposes. So all they want to know is, why did the author put these things in here? All of those pictures, and why did he do the different kinds of print? So we're going to move on over to our social studies book. All right. And here we are going to be covering the Great Plains region. And you see the graphic features that you covered last reading class: the title, the picture, the subtitle. And we know the author put those in there. So when it says, this is the panhandle of Texas, you can understand why they call it a panhandle. So that's all we're looking at, is why did the author put these things in here? And he put the caption so you would understand the picture. It says, moving east from the mountains and basins region, we come to the next Great Plains region of Texas, the land. The Great Plains region has 4 sections. The High Plains section is separated from the North Central Plains region by a long, steep slope called the Caprock Escarpment. The Edwards Plateau is hilly. In fact, the eastern part of the Edwards Plateau is called the Texas Hill Country. The Toya Basin is a broad, flat area located in the Pecos River Valley. The Llano Basin sits on the eastern edge of the Edwards Plateau. Now, all that is very confusing to me, but here the author has included a picture of a map to help us understand it. So when we're going to think about why the author put it in there, well, he put it in there because just reading the words can be confusing. We see over here the mountains and basins region, and then they're talking about the Great Plains of Texas, which is all of this right here, this orange, the pink, and this light orange. And we see the High Plains. They're called that because the elevation is higher. Down here, the land is about the same level as the sea, and it gets higher as we go to Texas. So they're high because they're higher elevation. There's the Toya Basin. A basin is like a bowl. So it's a large flat area, they said, by the Pecos River. We see it runs right through there. There's another basin, the Llano Basin. And then there's the Edwards Plateau that they said was really hilly. And this area here is called the Texas Hill Country. Okay, so the reason the author put that picture in, that graphic feature, was to help us understand where everything was located. The vegetation, that's the plants, in this geographic region includes different grasses. The Great Plains region has some forests with very tall trees. That would make sense because I know plains are usually flatter and have lots of grasses. So that would make sense to me that there would be a lot of grasses in the region called the Great Plains. The natural resources of the High Plains include oil, natural gas, and good soil. So the High Plains are over here. I've driven through there before, and there are a lot of oil wells you see going, pumping that oil up out of there. Okay. Farmers use underground water to irrigate the land. Irrigate, that means to water the land. Farmers grow wheat to make bread, cotton to make clothes, and sorghum in the Great Plains region. Sorghum is a plant they used to make a sugar. The Edwards Plateau is ideal for raising Angora goats. The hair of these goats is called mohair. Oh, here I see one of my print features. It is bolded and highlighted. That must mean it's important. Mohair can be spun into fine yarn. Almost all of the mohair made in the United States comes from Texas. I wonder what mohair feels like. I'll have to see if I can find something made of mohair, because that sounds, I'm guessing it'd be soft. The climate depends partly on elevation. Higher elevations usually mean cooler temperatures. This geographic region has hot summers and cool winters. Sometimes cold weather can blow in from the Rocky Mountains. The western part of the state gets about 10 inches of rain, and the eastern part gets about 30 inches of rain annually. Oh, so that means that's why they have to irrigate or water the land, because they only get about 10 inches of rain, and that wouldn't be enough to grow all those plants. Because we see on our map, this is sea level, and it gets higher and higher as you go further west in Texas, and it gets drier and drier. There's a lot of rain here. There's not so much rain over on this side of Texas. Okay, here's another one of our subtitles. Helps us know we are switching. We're not going to be talking about the land anymore. We are going to compare geographic regions. So the author uses this text feature to let us know we're switching ideas. The Great Plains stretch from the Rio Grande northward, across Texas, across the center of the United States, and up into Canada. You can see this on the map right here. So they have an inset map, and we spell inset like this. Set. Okay? Because the map is just set in to another map, and it gives you a better idea of where things are located. So we can see right here in Texas, there are the Great Plains, and that's this part right here. But it goes all the way up like this. Okay? So it just helps us understand where it's located better. That's why the author put that in there. People move to this geographic region because it is a good place to graze cattle and grow grains. There are a few cities, but it is largely a rural area. So I see cities. I know what a city is. I live in a city, the city of Parker Heights. But often when you see but, it means opposite. So if you don't know what rural is, it must be the opposite of city. So lots of people, country, not so many people. In South America, there is a large plain called the Pampas, which is similar to the Great Plains. In fact, the word Pampas means plains. I'm wondering if that's a Spanish word, because I know they speak Spanish in many countries in South America. Pampas means plains. As with the Great Plains in the United States, the Pampas is great for agricultural and cattle raising. So they're kind of like us. All right, we are going to look at a few more text features that aren't included on this page. I have here for you first. There is this great chart. Okay, and what I like about this chart, you see it has a headline or a title, the geographic regions of Texas. What charts do is they take the most important information and they put it in there so that you could compare things very easily or get the information you need very easily. Notice there are not complete sentences. There's just little 1 or 2, 3 words to describe the landforms, the climate, the economic activity and resources. Economic is just what do people do to make money? Tourism, they have these parks people go to. Here we see, we just read about this. People make money by ranching, farming, growing those goats for their mohair, oil and gas. Okay, so this is a chart and it just helps organize the most basic important information so that you can see it and get to it easily. Here we have a timeline. Timelines are just number lines, just like in math, except instead of counting things, they're counting the years. So the year 1500, Spanish explorers. 1685, La Salle claims Texas for France, Spanish, France. Texas is a part of Mexico. Texas becomes its own country in 1839. Texas joined the United States and then the Confederate States. So Texas has had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different flags flown over it. We can see the timeline of the flags on this one. Here's a different kind of timeline. This is just a pictorial timeline. Just kind of gives a picture and a caption and lets you know the order things were put in. And on this next page, these next pages, we have some graphs. You're probably fairly familiar with this kind of graph. It's a bar graph. where you just list what you're doing down here. It has a title, total rail mileage. That's how long are the railroad tracks of selected states. So it's not all states. I see just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 states, not all 50 states. And it's in the year 1900. So that was like over 100 years ago. And we see Massachusetts has the least, Pennsylvania has the most. And here's another kind of graph. This one is just Texas railroad mileage. And we see from 1860 to 1900. So we see in 1900, we had 10,000. In 1880, it had about 3,000, because I see this is like a number line here. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. Well, it'd be 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, 6,000, 7,000. So I see the dot is right about in between. So it's about 3,000 miles. And I see in 1900, it had 10,000. So if I compare that to here, because this is 1900, 10,000, it had almost as much as Pennsylvania. So those are just a few of the text features that you will see in informational texts. That is TEK 4.10c. They want you to think about those text features and why did the author put them in there? And the author most likely put them in there because he wants to help you understand a specific part of the information that he's writing about. So that is it for today, 4G readers. Have a great day.